Okay, today we're going to be talking about immune system essentials for your patients, especially going into cold and flu season. But in reality, these immune system essentials are needed by everybody for the entire year because our immune systems never get a holiday, even when it's not cold and flu season. We're constantly being bombarded with viruses, bacteria, parasites from the food we eat, the water we drink, all the people we're coming in contact with, and all the germs we're exposed to on a daily basis. So we constantly need our immune systems working. And the good news is your immune system and your patient's immune systems are very complex, intricate, killing machines that can handle anything that they come in contact with, no matter how strong or how virulent the infection is. The bad news is that immune system needs very specific raw materials from food. And many of these nutrients, many of these foods are lacking or gone altogether from the modern American diet. So we need to find out what those nutrients are that our immune system desperately needs, what foods they're in, and if we can't get the foods anymore in the diet, what supplements are going to effectively feed the immune system, whole food supplements. So the first thing we're going to talk about is calcium. Calcium is the most underrated, the most misunderstood immune system nutrient. Everybody thinks calcium is just for bones, that you just take calcium to prevent osteoporosis. And yeah, 99% of the calcium is found in the bones. But the 1% of that remaining calcium, and especially the ionized, free, metabolically active calcium in the blood, that's where immune system battles are won or lost. If you don't have enough ionized calcium, that 1% that's floating around in the system, you're going to be wide open for viral and bacterial infection. And there's a lot of different roles that calcium has in the immune system. One of the most important is in phagocytosis directly. Phagocytosis, when it's occurring, a calcium wave occurs around the trapped pathogen that allows that white blood cell to release its digestive enzymes and destroy the bacteria. So without that ionic calcium to make that wave and surround and allow that white blood cell to do its job, then you're not going to fight infection as efficiently. Calcium is also very, very important in regulating fevers. I'm going to read you something out of the textbook of Physiology, the 9th edition. It says, during fevers, infection, acute inflammation, in order for the white blood cells to function efficiently, ionized calcium must be abundantly available. When the blood ionized calcium falls below 50%, febrile seizures are experienced. So that's from the textbook of Physiology, talking about how important calcium is during fevers and infection. And the fever is the body's natural response to heat up the body and try to release calcium from the bones to make more ionized calcium in the system so we can fight infection properly. If we've got the ionized calcium there to begin with, we don't need to keep the fevers going for very high temperatures or for very long periods of time. So it's involved in phagocytosis, and it's involved in fever regulation. It's involved in apoptosis, the body's natural protection against cancer cells getting out of control. So ionized calcium has been found to be a critical part in apoptosis. So we could go on and on about ionized calcium in the immune system. And if you haven't seen Mark Anderson talk about calcium in the immune system, you really need to go to SeleneRiverPress.com and order the Triad of Immune System Health. You will never look at calcium the same way. But suffice it to say, calcium is critical. It's essential for our immune systems to work properly. Now, it should be as easy as us drinking a glass of milk, right, to get that calcium. It should be that easy. But unfortunately, all the milk in the grocery stores is pasteurized. And when it's pasteurized, the enzymes that we need to utilize the calcium are destroyed. Yeah, the calcium is still there in the milk, but the enzymes are gone, and it makes it much harder to get that good ionized calcium into the body to support our immune systems. So what are we going to do? Well, if you're lucky enough to live in a state where raw milk is legal to be sold in stores, you need to take advantage of it, and you need to get your patients onto that. Get them drinking raw milk if they don't have milk allergies. It's the best food to support the immune system. It's got the calcium you need, it's got natural immunoglobulins, it's got probiotics, and these things are destroyed with pasteurization. In my state, Florida, raw milk is available for pet consumption. So the dogs and cats are lucky enough to get raw milk, It's illegal for us. So if you live in a state where it's illegal to drink it, go for it. Take advantage of it. It's one of the best ways, the best way that you can get more ionized calcium to fight off infection. If you're in Florida, don't drink it. It's bad for you. It's dangerous. So there's a lot of politics behind why it's legal in some states, why it's not in others. But the bottom line is, because of the pasteurization issue, we need calcium supplementation. And the two forms that are easiest for the body to use are calcium citrate and calcium lactate. The citrate you can get in a lot of the health food stores. Calcium lactate is the form that Standard Process uses. And Dr. Lee picked calcium lactate because it's the easiest form for the body to turn into ionized calcium that you need to fight off infection. Calcium lactate is not the most effective calcium supplement for building bone tissue. Those are calcium supplements like Calcifood, Biodent, where it's made of raw bone meal. But that form of calcium is hard to turn into ionized calcium for our immune system. Calcium lactate is very effectively turned into ionized calcium. So there's a couple ways to get calcium lactate. If your patients are already eating, good quality dairy like yogurt, where some of that good bacteria has been added back and it's easier to digest and easier to absorb the good nutrients, or cottage cheese, same thing. If they're getting good dairy, they're getting cheese in the diet, cottage cheese, yogurt, they probably just need 6 to maybe 10 tablets total of calcium lactate just to get that extra, very easy to ionize calcium in their bloodstream. If they're really not doing well on getting enough calcium and they don't do any dairy, you really want to consider getting the calcium lactate powder. 1 tablespoon of the calcium lactate powder mixed in water is equivalent to taking 20 tablets of calcium lactate. So if they're getting good dairy, few tablets of calcium lactate will probably get the job done. If they're not, really consider the calcium lactate powder. Again, it's the most inexpensive, most effective first foundation for the immune system. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. Even if we're getting enough calcium with the supplements or from the food, we need other nutrients to use calcium in the body. So one of these nutrients is vitamin D. We have to have vitamin D to absorb calcium from the gastrointestinal tract into the blood. We have to have fatty acids once the calcium is in the blood to get it into the tissues. In the good old days, people used to get both of those nutrients, the vitamin D and the good fats, from cod liver oil. But we don't do cod liver oil today because it's gross and we just don't like it, so we don't eat it. So we're missing the D and the essential fatty acids. Another big barrier that people have to using calcium is low stomach acid production, low hydrochloric acid production. If you're not making enough stomach acid in the stomach, you're not going to get the calcium benefits from the food or the supplements that you're eating. And this really applies to people taking antacid medications. So when you're taking things like Tagamet, Nexium, Prilosec, those things make it difficult, if not impossible, to properly absorb the calcium from your food or your supplements. So this is why so many people need Zypan. Zypan gives that stomach the good acidity to absorb the calcium. So we need hydrochloric acid, we need vitamin D, and we need essential fatty acids to use calcium properly. So if you want to cover all of the bases with making sure you've got enough ionized calcium for your immune system to work, here's how to do it. 6 tablets of calcium lactate or the powder form, 1 tablespoon of the powder form. For the vitamin D, Catalin has 6 tablets of Catalin, has over 100% of the RDA of vitamin D. Or you could do 1 to 2 tablets of Cataplex D for even stronger vitamin D support. For the hydrochloric acid, to be able to absorb the calcium from the gastrointestinal tract, 2 tablets of Zypan with each meal. And for the fats, to use the calcium to get it into the tissues, you need Cataplex F tablets. That's the strongest form. Now, any of the oils that Standard Process makes, whether it's tuna oil, wheat germ oil, linen B6, all of those oils, even chlorophyll complex, are going to have some of those good fats to get calcium in the tissues. But the strongest, the most potent fatty acid to get calcium into your cells to fight off infection is definitely going to be the Cataplex F tablet. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. You could also, if your patients want to just take cod liver oil, get them to the Blue Ice cod liver oil. That's got a good amount of vitamin D and the essential fatty acids to use calcium. So calcium, ionized calcium in your tissues, is the most important first foundation for daily prevention of infection. If you doubt how important calcium is for fighting off infection, look at Conjuplex. The second ingredient of Conjuplex is calcium lactate. That's how important it is to be able to prevent and fight off infection or to support the immune system during acute infection. So calcium's number one. And next video, we're going to talk about some of the other